Good morning. Welcome back to another beautiful, magical, wondrous chapter of Fear of Imposing in Black Rock City. And here in the Black Rock Desert, we have some of the most spectacular sunrises. And I'm not much of a sunrise guy, but I really wanted everyone to see it because it is so wondrous. So I have gotten very little sleep, and I have set my alarm for very, very early to make sure that I could make it to this wondrous sunrise. So that's today's sponsor, the sun. The sun who has blessed us with all his glory on this wonderful morning. Thank you, Mr. Sun. Thank you, Mrs. Moon. She is no longer out because she has made way for the sun. So, I'll just jump right into this beautiful chapter. Almost at the end of our journey here at Burning Man and our lovely story. My eyes are not very good. I cannot see the page that well because it's not very bright yet, but I'm going to do my damnedest. Chapter 9. Take drugs, give hugs, share an endless moment. Friday night, day 5. I woke after a short and strenuous 15-hour nap, and while everyone saddled up for the night ahead, I prepared breakfast, a charcuterie board of mushrooms and warm deli meats. The rug was pulled right out from under me, and while overhearing extravagant plans, my own lay elsewhere, so leave was made without drawing any attention. I imagined to be in for a great spiritual conquest destined far into the outskirts. Incorrect. Fate led me no further than Esplanade, on the edge of Black Rock City's roller disco. With no sense as to why, I froze stiff in place, feet together, shoulders level, and head up with gaze locked on deep playa. Becoming a statuesque meat suit in out-of-place art installation was a mission unbeknownst to me, but was well underway. The beauty in passing was breathtaking as determined journeymen bound for adventure whizzed past on their bikes, sharing in laughter. Strong gusts shot microscopic dust bullets into each eyeball, but no muscle was moved. The jingle-jangling of bells and rustling feather of an outspoken chapeau kept me in a deep, trance-like state. One's hat is their external receiver, a portal and direct line to the cosmos, so it's best to obtain one with strong reception. Time became trivial, a relative anomaly more suited as a relatively irrelevant. This wasn't a deep meditation. There was no profound spiritual downloads or promising insight obtained. I was appreciating the still silence of peace and tranquility, having been content with merely standing in place. But after what must have been 2 hours without fault, worried folk began approaching to express concern. They'd ask many things. Are you okay? Do you need some water? Are you in there? Do you need to be taken to the med tent? The sense of confusion was tickling, and only worked to further cement my stance. Altering the play or deviating from my silent lines mid-act to appease another was not in the repertoire, so I'd simply wink, and they'd grow bored. Albeit clueless to what, I felt to be waiting for something substantial, and pale attempts to make sense of it was senseless, the only sensible move being no move at all. I hadn't cared that the sun was setting behind me, for the faces of those in awe of such a sight before me, and the love which glistened in their eyes, was the real show worth waiting for. It's easy to appreciate a sense of magnificence, and even easier to let it fade into memory, but seldom do we get to cherish those moments through the innocent eyes of another, while gifted their joy to carry evermore. All it took was one sad face, chin to the ground, and defeated spirit walking alone for the spell to conclude. "Hey pal," I yelled. "It looks like you need a hug. Get over here, you sorry little bitch." He turned smiling, having appreciated the gesture. Another soul safe in the arms of a dusty bandit wanted for unsolicited hugs. My stoic stance had run its course. I'd one hug down, but there was a quota to be met. I stretched cricks and cracks to every nook and cranny head to toe, and while skaters shook their fannies to funk, I was the disco, I was the dance. It took grace to avoid being trampled by those on their race to a very important somewhere, someplace. But for they with time to lose and love to choose, they'd meet the groove of my dancing shoes, and open arms seldom refused. In the heat of my hugshual escapade, I couldn't help but notice a man watching from afar. He was sitting on a beach chair outside of a camp next to the disco, wearing all black, combat boots, jeans, and studded leather jacket to complement his mohawk. While not paying him much attention, I could feel his stare laser beaming me from 30 yards out until he finally made his move, having waited for darkness to fall. "Hey man," he said, extending an LED. "You need this light out here. Mind you, I'm on the main street with plenty of visibility, and anyone unable to see me would have been classified as legally blind." "Appreciate that, friend," I replied, "but I'm all good. Thanks anyways." We'd exchanged words as his temper began flaring. "Take it, man." "Nah, man. You need a fucking light, man." "I'm good, man." His demeanor spoke of few hugs received as a child, something I'm familiar with. "You're a fucking moron," he said before kicking rocks. He'd return to the beach chair and continue staring with a very clear-cut, pent-up sexual aggression. But this war between pettiness and prettiness wouldn't bring me down. The volume needed turning up. With less travelers on foot, there were far too many people weaseling past my blockade. I'd resort to the Gandalf stance, halting those on bikes with like a Balrog. "You shall not pass!" I'd yell. Why?" they'd question. "For you must take 2 seconds away from your busy agenda and come get a hug." Everyone was more than delighted to receive such an abrupt and unexpected request, as if never having a dust-caked wizard halt them dead in their tracks for a hug before. All the while, Mr. Punk Rock would scream absurdities from the comfort of its beach chair. "You're gonna get fucking killed out here, man! Look at this fucking darkwad idiot just waiting to get run over! Hey asshole! Just wait till one of your hugs gets you buried by a bike!" The dude wouldn't quit rambling, and since he very clearly had an enormous crush on me, whenever able, I'd turn and blow him a kiss, then ask if he was ready for his hug. To which he'd reply, "Suck my fucking dick, asshole!" Charming as it were, I'd refrain from such advances. I stopped one group which must have had 10 people, and each stepped from their bike one at a time for a hug. Then, to test their patience, once getting to the last fella, I'd start all over again from the first and repeat the process. Yet none of them cracked. This continued for half an hour and what must have been 100 hugs as we blocked Esplanade in an obnoxious circle. They couldn't get enough, and neither could I. This same group, along with many others, would spot me in Lake Tahoe days after the event, having run up for another round of the good stuff. By this point, Mr. Punk Rock was fuming out the ears like a fussy little caricature man. I walked up to him and smiled, asking once again if he'd been ready for a hug, and judging by the look on his face which read, "I'm gonna slit your throat with my ponyboy switchblade comb," he wasn't. So, I strolled past and made way into his camp's bar, where all his metalhead friends were, Every single one of those fun-loving misfits welcomed me in for a squeeze, and every time I'd turn back with a sly grin from Mr. Punk Rock. Then, I'd return to my post on Esplanade and the reign of terror he'd curse down over me would ensue. After what must have been 2 more hours and hundreds of hugs, I felt the job to be over as destiny began calling elsewhere. It was evident that the battle was won, but what of the war? I gathered my things and approached Mr. Punk Rock for the last time. "This was a real hoot, my good man," I said, "but sadly, I must depart as my work lay elsewhere. It's a vast desert, and people out there are in need of a good hugging. But I wish to express my sincere appreciation for your hanging out this evening." I said this with arms open wide, beckoning him in, and then the most wonderful thing happened. He stood without a lick of hesitation to take me in his own. "You know what, man?" he said, meeting my eyes. "You're all right in my book." This suave son of a bitch, who just spent the better part of 2 hours tearing me a new one, finally let his guard down and gave me his respect. That right there, folks, is what all of it is about. The self-righteousness, unnecessary aggression, hypocrisy, contradictions, so on and so forth. That moment shared with Mr. Punk Rock made all those stupid and senseless fucking things, which got everyone so worked up over nothing, worth their goddamn weight in gold. We may have been the desert assholes, but we were kind assholes, and I'd turned that asshole into a motherfucking sweetheart. I'm sure there will be heaps of people in this community who begin this story only to write me off immediately as a huge jerk. They likely won't even give themselves the chance to understand what this story is truly about. For all, I've been labeled a parasite who's both invasive and insensitive towards the event and its attendees. I suppose that's fair, but there's nothing I do or say that's without reason or merit, even if misinterpreted. But for those of you who've made it this far, you have my deepest respect and appreciation. In all my many years at Burning Man, I've upheld the very same role and held up the very same mirror. Sometimes the greatest lessons we're able to bestow upon another comes at the expense of offering an unwelcomed glimpse into their own reflection. After all, how can we expect a fool to see if they aren't shown? By now, it was understood that with the strange synchronicity feature implemented into the event, finding the boys wouldn't prove difficult. I decided on a heading towards 2 o'clock and began walking and hugging each strung-out psychotic who got in my way. Eventually, I made it to what I can only assume was Black Rock City's answer to a Brazilian favela, an impoverished sector riddled with lowlifes, entirely dependent on nitrous. At the rotten heart of this barrio was Camp ? A vile portrayal of once hopeful vagabonds gone sour. There's no doubt in my mind that this camp is placed strategically on the edge and out of clear sight, without intent on exploring the spiraling abyss and dark realms of nihility. Prosperous souls have absolutely no business frequenting this wretched establishment of which births, breeds, and feeds degeneracy. It's no wonder I found the boys on its outskirts, deep in scientific observation. "The fuck are y'all doing here?" I asked. "Studying the underbelly's underbelly," Sleazy replied. "Take these, it'll thin the veil." He handed me more mushrooms, a blot of LSD, and half an ecstasy pill. "Get in on this action, you sick cunt," Chief chimed. "It's beyond fascinating." I tossed everything back and took a seat as Chief began working my shoulders. "The night may be young, but your body ain't," he said. "Without a deep tissue massage, you may not make it through to morning." "Call whatever your tentacles are doing what you wish," I replied. "Just don't stop." Fascinating it was, but in having melted to the floor, there was no escaping this horrible sight laying ruination to the mind. and the gale force winds blowing at my back weren't strong enough to prevent that putrid scent. This subhuman cesspool had catered primarily to wooks at their most devolved state, the ear-raping drum and bass music being the closest relative to stones being bashed against each other in the Paleolithic era. It was like watching a mass gathering of fetal alcohol syndrome suffering Neanderthals who'd just broken free of their fossilized state beneath the La Brea tar pits, came up for air, and discovered fire. Their erratic movement displayed elements of both fear and elation. Those less advanced kept on all fours, slamming their fists into the ground like orangutans flailing feces, while those with some semblance to Homo sapiens stood on two legs, though hardly upright. The dress code here seemed strict and uniform. Dish rag-stitched loincloths, barbecue-stained dresses, barefooted or borrowed ankle-strap Birkenstocks passed down from festival to festival. In taking their archaic nature into consideration, it made sense that none were without dreadlocks which hadn't been washed in a bowl of crystals nor soaked in their own urine since the last total lunar eclipse, providing optimally organic energetic retention. You must never give in to these shifty antics, nor allow oneself to be deceived by these conniving and elusive, flimsy little golem-like creatures with calcium-deficient skeletal frames. They're an invasive species, most akin to gremlins on the brink of long nights with hot spoons. Once providing something they desire, like dousing them with water to ease the heat brought on by 10 tabs of acid, they'll begin to multiply at an alarming rate. Without critical thinking skills, their tribe's survival in the wild relies heavily on hive mind mentality. One wook begging for nourishment will instantly metamorph into its most advanced leeching stages, calling upon hordes from its colony with a hauntingly high-pitched shriek as they work to deplete your resources entirely. I once watched an innocent bystander completely swarmed by these dumpster divers in mere seconds, having stripped everything aside from her own 2 cents, which she then realized through her own gross negligence had no worth at all. This dangerous concoction of drugs was beginning to take hold, having become less hyper-focused and more impatient. I'd been watching one of the varmints dig through his greasy fanny pack for 10 minutes, like a drunk hobo panning for butts in an already scavenged casino ashtray. It was driving me up the fucking wall, not knowing what he'd been searching so haphazardly for, until he realized his smoking apparatus had been dangling from a hemp cord around his neck. "God damn it, I can't take it anymore!" I yelled, jumping off the ground. "I've got to get out there and infiltrate this terrible chupacabra colony!" The only way to navigate safely on that dance floor, through the stampedes of water buffalo, was to refuse eye contact by distinguishing them through echolocation and heightened sense of smell. Even with the absurd tolerance built throughout the week, that Jedi flip mixture skyrocketed in my evolutionary course. I was lent direct access to the quantum realm, having pinballed in every which direction like a junkie having hug withdrawals when Sheaf grabbed me. "We're heading out, skis mate," he yelled as my eyeballs bulged out their sockets. We'd only just arrived, I thought, or had it been hours trapped in a temporal anomaly? "You got it, buddy!" I screamed inches from his face. I went to grab my bag, but by that time everyone had vanished, and I was left forsaken to the void. It was pointless to mope around looking for a lost cause. There was a quota to be met. A deranged man on the brink of an episode became a go-getting, show-stopping, cereal-hugging lunatic that night. I'd even embraced the wooks, whose primal pheromones left me gagging up bile. It became such a spectacle that if by chance I'd miss someone in the crowd, they'd look as if questioning whether something was wrong with them. And perhaps there was. Maybe their energy had failed to prevail. My cerebral cortex was so finely fucking tuned that I'd been able to make out a girl's face 30 yards out, through groves of people morphing into one another like a pastel painting that I hadn't seen since elementary school, 15 years prior. I burrowed through the crowd like a long-legged wombat ready to maul its prey until we were face to face. She was contorting her body like an avatar, bending the wind as she picked up dust and threw it in my face. "Hannah!" I screamed. She stopped for a moment, as if having disrupted a conjuring in mid-cast. Her eyes were acid-tranced, the kind which look right through someone without ever knowing they're there. "Hannah! It's me, Eric!" I'd yell again. She smiled and approached, with curiousness. Ever so gently, I kissed her in hopes to wake Sleeping Beauty from her slumber, but to no avail. She went right back to flipping flapjacks in an invisible pan. We'd reconvene online weeks later. She had no memory of me that night, nor of becoming a soft pretzel contortionist, but it relit a most wonderful friendship full of adventure. I was higher than Terence McKenna at a metaphysical. I was higher than Terence McKenna at a metaphysical retreat deep in the Amazonian rainforest, having grown bored of the ordinary world. So I hugged my way towards the front with eyes wide shut. Hippies will often say shit like, "My sweet soul brother, your aura is a brilliant glow of indigo." And while I've never had that gift, on this night, I most certainly did. I'd become Stan Lee's Daredevil of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, totally fucking blinded from radioactive waste, yet able to see perfectly from behind closed doors. I was sharing in dance with vibrant silhouettes, shadows of the in-between, their colorful auras ranging across each end of the spectrum. It was an indescribable beauty at worst, and an unfathomable anomaly at best. That is, until one of those people decided to flash me with their high beams. Blinded by her radiance, I spun around and opened my eyes to meet those of familiarity. Perhaps it was the drugs, but I'd view such turn of events as magic. Whoever this tiny, tiger hood-wearing girl was, held utmost importance. We pulled each other in close, having embraced her in a way which made all 999 hugs prior to that moment fade into memory. "What is your name?" I yelled directly into her eardrum. "Julia," she replied, laughing. "What's yours?" "Don't have one!" I reached into my pouch, fingering through a surplus of narcotics to find a pen. "It's really easy to get separated out here," I said. "You better give me your number just in case we get lost." She didn't question this absurdity, as if having expected something so nonsensical. There was something supernatural at play here which couldn't be ignored. I wrote the number across my forearm, then went over each digit several times as if she'd been making mistakes. "Someone has released all the animals from their cages," I yelled. "It isn't safe here. I saw a meadow just over yonder. Shall we go frolicking?" "But I have a boyfriend," she replied. "Yeah, cool, but not what I asked. I'm talking platonic, baby." We locked arms like cordial folk and took a stroll into the vastness beyond. "So where is this meadow?" she asked. "Jesus Christ," I replied. "Don't be so clumsy. You're trampling the daisies." "Oh, heavens me. It's just so dark out here. An honest mistake. We'll let it slip this time. But I don't come out here to tend to this garden just so some numbskull can lay waste to it. Here, let us sit on this nice patch of grass." "What do you think is up there?" she asked, gazing to the stars. "Beats me," I replied. "Point the way, take us far, and let's find out." It's easy as adults to get wrapped up in the reality of our own self-created bullshit. We neglect the boundless wonders we're gifted, and watch as they pass us by without a second thought. I'd felt to have waited so long to recognize and appreciate such a simplistic, playful moment of innocence. A boy and girl in a schoolyard sandbox, building castles in the sky. While we spoke for some time, I can't recall much of what was said, for the words themselves held little importance. The bond being formed was beyond expression, having been reminiscent of seeing an old friend you haven't spoken with in years, yet feel to have never parted from. Julia was like me, like so very many of us feel to be, entirely misunderstood. And sometimes all we need in life is that split second to meet another's eyes and know they can relate, if only to remind us of who we are. We shared a karmic interaction of the soul which revealed an undeniable connection, a bond I'd felt before in other great friends, romantic relationships, and family. Those who you tend to cross to gain perspective, understanding, and greater sense of gravity towards the bigger picture. It was a blessing bestowed upon us, and if not given immediate recognition, this loving, serendipitous encounter would have been whisked into the wind, unlikely to return. But at that point in life, I understood that when a path presented itself, it would be walked until finding reason for its purpose and its impact acknowledged. We stood with the rising sun, having more than cherished each other's company. It was a magical night, although all must come to an end. I'd taken drugs, given hugs, and shared an endless moment, one that not only helped shape the future, but further define my understanding of it. We'd walk over to her bike where I'd give her my last hug, having surpassed the quota by one. She rode off gracefully towards the border of beauty, where she'd go on to shape her world, future, and all those within it. Julia and I remained close but distant friends for some time following that night, and while our interactions were seldom, when able, we'd cherish those brief moments of such playful innocence together. It's been many, many years since we've spoken, but I'm sure wherever she may be out there, she's still building those castles in the sky and forgetting to turn her goddamn high beams off. Holy shit! Do you see that? I wasn't paying any attention to the sky, obviously because I'm trying to tell a wonderful story, but holy fucking moly! There's a crazy guy out there spitting fire! The sun is also pretty good. It's pretty good. But I'm more concerned about that guy. He looks like a caveman or something. I think he's a caveman spinning. It's too early to be spinning fire. I hope that he's had a good night's rest and isn't high on any LSD or something. He's perhaps doing a conjuring spell for the sun. He may have summoned the sun. Because look at that sun, Jesus Christ. Let me get out of frame just so you can appreciate it. Whoa! Holy shit. I'm not much of a sunrise guy because I'm a very sleepy boy at that time. But my man. Yeah, wow. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. I think I'm gonna try to go cry because look at this thing. It's like a miracle. Whew! Yeah. Next chapter, chapter 10, the grand finale of Fear of Imposing in Black Rock City. I cannot wait for it. I am so goddamn excited. This has been such a wonderful little adventure that we have had together. We have experienced quite a lot out here this burn. Very, very interesting, but I cannot get enough of that sunrise, so I am going to go try and help that caveman because he looks delirious. I'm gonna get him to just watch the sunrise with me. We're gonna have a nice little chat. We're gonna put the fire out. We're gonna be safe. Everything's gonna be okay. Hell yeah! All right, guys. See you next time.